On now. So hi and welcome to everybody. Quick introduction. Claire Taylor is helping host these webinars, so that is who Claire is. She is my absolute rock with these things and does all the gadgety stuff that I have no idea what to do with. So when you're in your chat box and you're saying hi, Claire will be replying to you, and then Claire will facilitate some questions at the end. So we'll open up for questions and we'd invite those through the chat box again. And again, we'll keep it anonymous. So yeah, so let's crack on, as they say. So now I have to share my screen. There we go. Brilliant. That nearly lulls everyone into a false sense of security. I actually know what I'm doing. So this is the third webinar that we've run, and I'm not sure who's joined us that's been on any previous ones. If you have, welcome back. If you haven't, welcome. And they're available for you to see if you'd like to. So we are building on those. Equally, it doesn't mean that you have to have been on them. So it's interesting. So I caught a glimpse, daytime telly, who knew? I caught a glimpse, I think I was eating my breakfast and watching This Morning, and they were doing about corona, anxiety and heightened emotion was their call-in, and it is something that is about and quite emotive and irrational in these unprecedented times. It's not something that any of us probably can really get a deep handle on, and that's okay. It's okay to have your world rocked, because it has been. The whole world has been rocked by this significant event in our lifetimes. So what we're going to look at today, quite sort of briefly, is how to calm the mind and to look and identify and manage those big emotions. What we can never do is still the mind, probably, unless you're deep into your meditation practices. So by way of an introduction, my name is Vicky Bailey. I'm a psychotherapist, coach and trainer, and I specialise in mental health and wellbeing, and that's my day job. And many of you probably will not know, and some of you will know, that I haven't done my day job since the 22nd of May last year. So apologies for those who've heard this before. I just need everyone to know that I am part of your community. You won't have seen me on the Facebook page because I choose not to be on social media with what I do for a living. My business is, and that sits separately. So that's a conscious decision from me. So yeah, 22nd of May last year, I'd done a day's work. I'd come back, was doing some more work because I run my own business. And yeah, about 6 o'clock in the evening, my SCAD started. So bit of a shock, as I'm sure you can all relate to. The photos that I've shared with you there is my partner Enton and I when I was in hospital. My friends and I were due to go to a festival that weekend because it was May Bank holiday weekend, and they were flooding me with videos and shots of the festival, which was lovely. So I sent them a photo back, hence me having a photo of myself in hospital. The photo in the middle is Enton, and then my two girls, Katie and Sophie, and I at the SCAD walk. So my goal between May and I think the SCAD walk was in September was to walk the longer route, and I managed that. So that was a great achievement. And then the third photo is my all-time favourite thing in the world, apart from the sea, is bluebells. And sadly, this year, I think I'm going to miss out on my bluebell walk. So it's just a little bit of a share with you all. So in terms of recovery, I'm still off work. Was due to go back to work and aim to go back to work sort of May, June this year. And with everything that's happening, I have chosen to not go back to work. It's not a good time to go back. So my recovery is going well. I'm okay. I've seen Dr. Adlam a couple of times, as he happens to be my consultant as well. So I'm progressing well and finding my new normal and living with what's happened. So what we've done in the last two webinars is we've started to generate a bit of a book club, or offer you some ideas of some reading if that's what you'd like to do. And in the last webinar, I shared with you one of my all-time favourite books, which is about the Dalai Lama's cat, and it's a trilogy. So I just thought, rather than eking it out over all the webinars, I'd share the next two books in the trilogy with you. And I'll just let you read that quote from the Art of Purring. These books are a light touch, and as much as you want to take from them, they're very gentle reads. They're delightful. They are written in a fictional way, if you like, through the eyes of the Dalai Lama's cat. They have lovely messages in them, or they're just a lovely story. So the trilogy's there, and if you wanted something to read that's just a bit easy and maybe just gives you something back, this would be, excuse me, something that I'd like to share with you. So there's a couple of quotes I'm going to share with you now before we go into some of the work. I've followed Herma for a little while. She's an amazing Buddhist monk and just has some really insightful stuff. So again, this won't suit everybody. It's just to give you a diversity of what's out there to maybe help settle your mind, enable you to just take a second and take a breath. So letting there be room for not knowing is the most important thing of all. And we definitely are in circumstances which is unknown, uncharted territory. And I think the biggest thing that human nature thrives on is safety. And at the moment, the whole thing's very, very fluid and very, very shaken around. So the unknown is okay. It's okay for us not to know. It's okay for us not to be okay. You'll hear these expressions. Take that in and allow that to become okay for you and to believe that. And again, we're all finding ourselves in really unusual places. There are a few people out there that still have a normal, my sister's a medic, so she's still going out to work, and so her day looks the same in terms of getting up and going out to work and coming home. Obviously it's not the same. And for many of us, we're striking up a new normal where we're confined to quarters, we're in a very new environment whereby we're thrown together with people and environments that aren't normally what we function in. So the biggest thing to probably remember, and I think it's quite important, is you do have decisions. You have the ability to choose what happens every day within the confines of your bubble that you're beginning to exist in. And I think if you can notice that there are choices and that you can decide how things go that day, that's really important. And I know it'll take time to settle into this new normal. So what we're going to concentrate on is a few top tips around mindfulness. Mindfulness and the way that within the business that I would use it and talk to people about it is, for me, I think there's what they call the secular mindfulness, where you can go on an 8-week course and learn mindfulness. And then there is really the Buddhist spiritual side, which is probably a little bit of a blend of the two I would work with. The thing to recognize with mindfulness is it's like anything, it takes practice, and people talk about it as this big thing. What I'm offering you today is some tips that enable you to be mindful, enable you to get some quick wins and go, actually, you can do this. So really what mindfulness is about is awareness. So awareness isn't necessarily watching the news every second and sort of overwhelming yourself. It's noticing what's around you and in your surroundings. So I'm just going to change the camera's angle a minute. A lot of people like it when I'm doing Zoom and some of my work online when I was working before, because I have that picture up there and a lot of people notice that. And for me, that's a big anchor. So in terms of awareness of where I sit and rooms and things like that, notice what you have and notice what helps you. That brings you into the now and into the moment, and then that allows you to accept the situation that you're in. So if you like, this is a very simple cycle that we would invite you into, and that is mindfulness. It doesn't mean that you're not looking ahead. It doesn't mean that there's no planning. It means that you're able to accept the situation and pay attention in that moment, which then does begin to calm the mind. So I'm going to take you through a couple of 3 slides now with some sort of tips of maybe exercises that you can use, techniques that you could take into your world and allow yourself to go, oh. Last week we talked about breathing, and the biggest thing around all of this and that goes alongside and marries up with this is to breathe. So you'll catch me taking breaths every now and again with you, and that's really conscious. because when we are heightened, when we're not calm and we're more in a panic mode, or these big emotions evolve and wave into us, we do stop breathing. So fundamentally, my invitation to you is, however you're sitting, she says with the legs crossed, maybe sit with both feet on the floor, relax the shoulders and start your breathing. So one of the first tips that I would share with anybody about trying to, or attempting to look into bringing you into a moment, is to use colour. Now, if that doesn't work for you for any reason, if colour's challenging for you in any reason, the other offer is maybe think of an image that is a peaceful image for you. So I have some safe spaces. You've already seen bluebells. You saw another photo of mine from a place that I frequent in Wales quite frequently, near the beach. So there's places that I can go to in my head. So if colour's not an easy thing for you, that's okay. Maybe replace it with one of these calming images of something that you love or that you are at peace with. So think about, so we'll work with colour and then interchange that in your mind's eye. Think about what your favourite colour is. So for me, I'm a blues and purples person, so that might be something that I would look at. Then notice where you are, whether you're in your house, your garden, even if you're standing in the queue and you have to go out to the supermarket like I've done this morning. If it's heightened you, just notice if there's any colours that you could just lock into and see what's around. Might be on clothing, it might be in front of you, behind you, above you. And then it's about breathing and focusing on that colour. And what starts to happen, if you can do this, is you might concentrate for 30 seconds and then it disappears again, and that's okay. And then the next time you think, right, I'm going to look at colour X, or hold the image in and breathe into it, it might last for 40 seconds, and then gradually it builds into heightened and more time. And what that does is bring down some of the chatter in your head, the heightened anxiety, the heightened panic feeling, and the big emotions, and starts to calm them and allow them to be more manageable. It will never delete them. You can never get rid. What we want to do is to make it more manageable for you. So that would be the first offering. The second one is to start to use your senses. So taste, seeing, hearing, touch, smell. So again, if all these senses aren't available for you, that's okay. Pick something that works for you. And often people talk about, I think the witching hour for our house is about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I know, talking to friends, that often 2, 3 in the morning, we're sort of all awake with this sort of innate societal anxiety that's around. So this might be something to think about then, or it might be something to think about during the day if it's all a bit much. Pick one of them and tune into it. So for instance, let's go for hearing. If that is available to you and you can choose hearing, notice what you do here. So before we came on today, it's very weird when we do these Zoom things, is you suddenly become aware of the background noises. So I've briefed my teenage children to be quiet, hence the door shut. They did have permission to get up and shower though, it wouldn't be too noisy. So it's things like that. So in the background now, postman's just been for me. I can hear some birds out there. I can hear my computer whirring. I can clearly hear my voice. They're the key sounds that are here for me. So my invitation to you, just for a second, is what's available to you now. And what you'll notice is if you start to focus on that, everything else starts to disappear and just quieten down. It doesn't go, it just quietens down because your focus is elsewhere. So paying attention with your senses is a lovely thing to practice, and a really, really healthy thing to practice. And it does work at the witching hour when you're sort of a bit restless in bed. So it might be that you use the hearing one again, depending where you live. It might be that as the dawn comes up, we hear, but there's lots of things that you just begin to notice by noticing on one sense. So that would be a second tip to share with you. So mindfulness is more than all of these tips. So what I've done is I've chosen those two and then this third one to lead you into one last exercise on this webinar. And you'll notice the graphic on there. So if nothing else, my invitation to you is, while you're at home, please watch Inside Out. Cracking film. That graphic on the screen for you there is a graphic from Inside Out. And for those of you who haven't had the joy of discovering this film yet, it is a cartoon, and it is about a baby growing into a young teenage girl. And the graphic that you see there are all her emotions. So the actual film is about all of her emotions, and it's genius. So it's just a little lovely, delightful touch. And it's great just to bring us back into the world of like, oh, okay, we're all okay. So one of the things is to notice your feelings. So if I said to you, and you might want to write this down and just think in your mind's eye, what are you feeling right now? Now, however you define that is okay. I'm not asking you to come up with a lovely script of very clear, defined feeling words. Think about how you're feeling now. Spend a few seconds feeling that emotion. Now, that might be quite challenging for you, and that might feel a bit scary, and that's okay. We've got your back on this. It's okay. Allowing those feelings to be there and giving them permission is actually one of the gifts of mindfulness. As much as they can be really big and really heightened, we can bring you back down the other side. I'm just going to give you, on the next couple of slides, some ways to do that. So whatever that feeling is right now, however you choose to label it, so to give you an idea, it doesn't have to be from a lovely dictionary of feeling words. It can be whatever you want it to be. In our household and our culture, one of my grandmother's many legacies, God love her, is that she would often feel a bit how, because she sometimes just didn't know how she felt. She was a bit yeah, a bit and a bit. So it was like any old how, and it got shortened to I just feel a bit how. So what I'm offering that to you is, you're very welcome to share that. It's really about finding the diction that works for you and naming those feelings so that you know how you're feeling in that moment. Allowing those feelings to be okay and spend some time with them is the next step. And I've offered 30 seconds there because sometimes these big feelings that we are in that are really heightened and quite overwhelming, it's too much to stay there, and that's okay. And then the question at the end, did you notice any feelings that you didn't notice before because you spent time being with it? That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting to notice that things do and can flood in. So the next couple of slides is, again, this is one way of doing it. I'm just going to offer you a second way that the pragmatists and the more practical around us might be useful. So where we start is, wherever you are, stand and sit. So I am feeling, and then you would put a word or a couple of words there. You would then say, I am feeling, whatever you've put in there, because, and then you'd find your rationale. You would then say, I am feeling because, and then my thoughts are, and then share what those thoughts are onto that script. You would then say, I am feeling, whatever the words are, because, whatever the reason is, my thoughts are, whatever they are, and my body sensations are, because what happens is our emotions do manifest on our bodies. So for some of us, and I shared this last week, one of my weak spots is my throat. So if my throat's a bit scratchy, that's a little awareness for me to go, how am I feeling? Lots of people carry in their shoulders sometimes. Some people talk about holding stuff in their stomachs and butterflies. So whatever that is for you, there may be a body sensation associated with it. This little formula is quite nice and gentle. So the mindfulness one, you sit with it and be with it. This is a way of actually extracting it and managing it and it not being quite so scary because we externalize it. Now, externalizing things is really, really healthy because it doesn't then ruminate and go round and round in circles. So I'm going to show you another graphic now. That this is from a primary school resource that I have the joy of having access to, and this is lovely. This is how a young person caught this formula. So I'll let you read that. Hopefully you can read it. So again, that young person has caught it in a graphic. There's nothing stopping us young people in our adult bodies to actually do that as well. And on the previous slide, I shared with you about noticing your body sensations, which was a build on it, because we do carry our emotions on our bodies. Now, I am very aware that I have shared with you quite a lot of information there, and I've done that knowingly, because what I want to be able to do is offer you a little bit of a choice, I guess, across the noticing that different things suit different people. And the biggest thing, I can't emphasize this enough, the biggest thing is please breathe. My hunch is most of you have watched this and listened and going, oh, and then go, oh yes, and breathe. And that's okay. Remember to breathe. I shared last week that if you need to, when you're in a calmer state and if you're living with somebody and there's someone around, maybe invite them to prompt you if they notice you're getting a little bit heightened. So you can have an external prompt, or you could put some little graphics on the wall, remind yourself to breathe. I shared this last week, and I think it's a great slide to maybe just thread through a little bit. Our worlds have become significantly different. So noticing what we can do is the gift. There will be some positive legacies from this, and there may be changes that are made during this time that you will hang on to, which are for the good, which is going to be great. There are things we can't influence and that we cannot manage or are not within our reach. And so holding on to those is not healthy for us. Allowing those to go and say, actually, they need to stay here, and this is what I can do, and these are the choices I can make, will also enable you to be okay. And then finally, I just love this quote. Just a little bit of, in today's age, I have noticed that people talk to people a bit more. So I went for my walk around the village yesterday, and people do sort of, in a kind of subdued, wary way, nod or say hello. So I do tend to smile a lot. So thank you for your time and attention. I'd like to open up now and invite any questions that you may have, and I'll be delighted to answer them. So thank you. Is there any questions come through, Claire?
Not at the minute. If anyone's got any questions, if you want to pop them in the chat box or the Q&A box, that would be brilliant.
And it's okay not to have any as well.
Are those books that you recommended, Vicky, are they available on Kindle or e-readers?
I'm 99% sure they are. Having just done a little check yesterday, I'm pretty sure they are, because I'm a book person, though I don't want to guarantee that they are and go, yes, they are. I'm sure if you get them through, I think I got mine through Waterstones a little while ago, but I think they're on Amazon, and I know e-readers can do that as well. So I think so.
Brilliant, I'll take a look. We've got a question to sort of say, many people try to keep feelings inside and under control in case it opens the floodgates. Any tip for slow release, e.g. start with 30 seconds and increase to 45 after a few days? Or, and like I say, any tips for slow release?
Okay. I come from a sports background, so any new skill, which is what this is really, because we're terribly British sometimes, and I think that's a good observation, we keep things in, is about practice. So I would suggest, if there's something there that suits you, is to very quietly just notice what suits you and allow yourself some space to do it when you're not heightened. So for instance, if it's about being in the garden in the sunshine yesterday, and in my case, eating really nice homemade carrot cake that my kids baked, result. That was a safe space to maybe start to notice how I was feeling. So I would set it up, first of all, when you're not in a heightened place, and when you're in a space that's okay, and maybe if you need somebody around you to say, I'm just going to just go and practice sitting for a minute. And I think your observation there about building it up gently over periods of time, so 30 seconds to 40, 45 is really important. The other thing to notice, and I haven't put this on here, is actually you could write your feelings down. If you're not wanting to keep them in your head and you do want to externalize them without vocalizing them, you could do that exercise and for 30 seconds just write it. And actually that's quite safe because it's externalizing it. So I think really gently, with maybe a safety net around that, you know, that if something does wobble, that you've set up a little safety net around you. So again, I'm not knowing everyone's living circumstances. It might be if you're on your own, have somebody on the end of the phone ready. If you've got someone in the house with you and you're in a different room, just know that they're in the background. I suppose the other reassurance to share with you, and it's an experiential one, is if it does open something, you will be fine. It will feel hard and it will feel uncomfortable, and you'll go through it and you will be fine as well. So trust your intuition. That would be my response.
Brilliant. No, that's everything. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
So just a comment from one of the ladies joining in. Thank you for this lovely time. I find it nice just to have others to meditate with and relax.
Thank you. I hope that's been useful and given